Sean O'Malley claims to be mentally undefeated, however he does have a loss on his record. Chito Vera, either having a stroke of luck or the world's greatest precision, hit O'Malley's peroneal nerve, causing his leg to basically fall asleep, and gave Chito an opportunity to land a nasty elbow, finishing the fight. Regardless of what any of us think, Chito is getting a bit of an undeserved title shot, rematching O'Malley for the belt. I'd say that both Sandhagen and Merab deserve a title shot over Chito, considering all Merab has done and the fact that Sandhagen beat Chito pretty recently. However, I don't think the UFC is worried about my personal opinion. We're getting the rematch, so let's talk about it. It makes sense to go back to their first fight first, however it really doesn't show a whole lot. O'Malley was feinting a lot and both fighters were having success with leg kicks. Aside from the finish, that's sort of all of it for their first fight. What I will say about the finish, and this perhaps could be a little controversial, is that Sean O'Malley did go out after that elbow. I'm not sure how much the nerve thing would have affected Sean's ground game, but Chito threw an elbow from O'Malley's guard and knocked him out. Sean O'Malley has been a bit of a long time coming in the UFC. Almost immediately he was getting a push and quite a bit of attention from fans. After a couple of different setbacks, we now see a lethal striker who, for being pretty lanky, has surprising speed and power. He makes use of his long frame, and not in the boring jab and lean back for 15 minutes way, but he'll use teeps to set up quick straight shots which come from both stances. That's how he finished Aljamain Sterling. He used a teep to switch to the open stance, and then when Aljo goes to attack after the teep, Sean uses the open side counter that made McGregor famous. His repeated stance switching throws off a lot of fighters even at the highest level, as they never really get the timing the way they would if the same shot was coming from the same stance every single time. The stance switches also compound with the dozens of feints Sean throws to make his opponent almost feel clueless as to what's coming their way. He's able to land cleanly on people like Petr Yan by showing him 100 different things and then firing off a lightning fast punch at the opportune time. We haven't seen Sean's ground game too much, partially because the majority of times he's been on the ground is because he's been injured. The Yan fight gave us a little insight though, and while Sean was able to avoid being in any super dangerous positions, he did appear to get overpowered by Yan in certain situations. Even when the takedown was anticipated, Sean would sometimes struggle to get Yan off and end up being dragged down anyways in spite of seeing the shot coming and attempting to defend it. Possibly due to his lanky frame or because it was a frantic pace, but Sean at least appears like he knows what he's doing when it comes to defending takedowns, but sometimes he just appears to get overpowered. In spite of whether you're a fan of him outside the cage or not, he's never really had a boring fight and he's clearly very crafty inside the cage. Now, if we go over to Chito Vera, I'm going to be honest, I did not have a great time watching his fights prior to making this video. He's very much a highlight reel fighter, where he's got a lot of great finishes and moments, but when you watch his fights all the way through, sometimes he just doesn't do anything. He's not a very active fighter, and it does get him into trouble. He scraped past Munoz in his last fight, and before that he had a real snoozer against Sandhagen, which he lost. For whatever reason, there's a couple people on Twitter that seem to love him. I'm not saying in any way he's a bad fighter, but his fights can be pretty boring, and I'm slightly annoyed that the people on Twitter roped me into being excited for his fights. The fight against Rob Font is kind of famous because I think Font's at the bantamweight record for the most strikes thrown in a fight, but still ended up losing. Chito Vera is interesting to me because on the feet it kind of appears like he can do pretty much anything. You know, he's a strong puncher, he's a strong kicker, he fights pretty decent in the clinch, and he's got, like knees and elbows from the clinch. In fights like the Cruz fight and the Rob Font one, it's almost like you're waiting for Chito to land that one strike that changes the course of the entire fight. Font will be winning the entire round, and then one strike would just change everything. The Cruz fight was a fun back and forth, and then it was just over. It's clear that Chito carries considerable power, and he's got a great eye to find openings, seemingly out of nowhere. The trouble is, of course, when there isn't an opening. I think the best example of this is the Sandhagen fight, because Corey is a fluid, crafty fighter that moves really well and isn't afraid to shoot takedowns when he feels like he needs to. He doesn't have openings that are easy to exploit, and he's not going to let Chito just walk him down. I think the biggest problem with Chito is 1, activity, and 2, when he doesn't feel in control of a fight and can't pick his own shots, he has trouble reasserting himself into the fight. When I say when he's not in control, that doesn't necessarily mean when he's losing he can't pull it back, but There are times where he's losing the fight, but it seems like he sort of is going the way he wants to, in the sense that he knows when an opening is going to come and he knows when to land the strike that's going to change the round or whatever. Just think back to like the Rob Font fight where he's losing, but he's still in control. That's kind of what I mean. The rematch between O'Malley and Chito Vera is definitely quite interesting, and I don't really know what to expect from either of them. Having taken a closer look at them both, I think if Chito wants to win, he's really going to have to go after O'Malley, which isn't necessarily something we see him do to people. O'Malley has some of the most frustrating lateral movement, he's very quick to get out of that if his back's to the fence, and in my opinion, Chito isn't going to just walk into range with O'Malley to trade, and if he tries, O'Malley is going to be out of the way before he can even get a jab in. Chito needs to force himself onto O'Malley and be very aggressive, otherwise he's not going to be able to get O'Malley in front of him to hit. He seems pretty capable in the clinch, so why not go for it in this fight? O'Malley's fight with Jan was easily a fight of the year contender, and I'm pretty sure most people would be gassed after a fight like that. But even so, it's important to recognise that O'Malley may not have the 5-round cardio, which is all the more reason why Chito should really make an effort to get after him. If you're Sean O'Malley, it might just be a case of keep doing what you're already good at. Chito walks forward in straight lines for the most part, so Sean's active lateral movement will really help him out in this fight. If Chito does all his best work when you're stood in front of him, it makes sense to move laterally a lot, which is something that Sean O'Malley's really good at. The other thing I'd say specifically for O'Malley is to throw combinations. From what we've seen, Sean only really throws one punch at a time, and which comes with its own pros and cons. Chito's got a rock solid chin and rolls with the punches pretty well, which is why he's not scared to put up a high guard and just stand in front of you. This is why I think O'Malley should start putting combinations together, in an effort to get around the high guard, in an effort to open up the body, which then would open up the head as well. But exploiting the high guard through combination punching is what I think we should see from him. The last thing that I'll mention is something that I actually think both fighters should implement, which is body strikes. We saw Sean O'Malley slow down in his 3-round fight with Jan, so Chito launching kicks and punches to O'Malley's body will really add up over 5 rounds. If O'Malley starts to tire and wear, he's not going to move around as elusively as he likes to, which is perfect for what Chito Vera wants. If Sean O'Malley makes an effort to attack Chito's body, it benefits him a lot too. Chito doesn't have the same kind of defense for his body that he does for his head, and this was really put on display during his fight with Jose Aldo. When Chito puts up a high guard, it's a perfect opportunity for O'Malley to land some solid shots to Chito's body. So yeah, while I think both guys should go for the body, it doesn't seem all that likely that they will. Going off of the stats, they're totally headhunters, with a couple leg kicks here and there. Sean throws some teeps to the body too, but mostly head punches. So, after going over both guys, there's definitely things that they can both do and aid their chances of victory, but the problem is I'm not so sure that they're actually going to do them. Chito never really pushes forward in his fights when he needs to, and O'Malley really only throws 1 or 2 punches at a time. So it's a little bit frustrating, I imagine, especially if you're a fan, because they both could do things that would really work against each other. The problem is, I just don't think that they will. Like I said, for Sean O'Malley, if he throws like 3 or 4 punch combos every single time, and he really digs into the body, even with body kicks, like punch to the head and then kick, it could really work out well for him. And then for Chito Vera, also punching to the body, grabbing the clinch, that would work great. Like hanging on Sean O'Malley would also tire him out. Throwing a lot of kicks, even to the arms, to the body, to the legs, it's going to wear down O'Malley. And then O'Malley's going to be more likely to just stand in front of him because he can't move around as much, which is perfect for Chito. That's exactly where Chito wants him. So, while I do think that Chito absolutely could win, if he comes in with the right game plan, or if he just targets a perennial nerve again, but if he comes in with the right game plan, he absolutely could beat O'Malley. He's definitely got some of the things that would work against O'Malley, but I don't think that he's going to do them, and I do think Sean O'Malley is going to win this fight. I think that O'Malley is going to, make a lot of use out of his lateral movement. He's going to pick off Chito on the outside, and he's also going to land, I think because Chito's got like a great chin, and he really takes a punch, and he's not just going to be caught flush by O'Malley. I think Sean O'Malley's going to win this fight by decision. So yeah, that's my prediction for this fight. Dustin Poirier is also fighting. He's my favourite fighter. I really hope he wins, because if he doesn't, I don't know what I'll do myself, but yeah. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on this fight. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you've got any thoughts of your own, be sure to comment. I'll reply to them. But yeah, thank you for watching.